So what's up, everybody? This is going to be the first in a series of videos explaining how to get a custom track going in Wreckfest. I'm going to assume that you're starting with your own terrain and things like that, and I'll show you how to bring all the Wreckfest stuff into play and hopefully get it running for the first time in the game. In future videos, I want to show how to do blended textures, which you can see on this track. This is a very nice feature of Wreckfest that makes it very easy to texture your maps. Show how to change your AI routes a bit, show you how to do various other things like cool custom water effect that can be useful for people building kind of off-road tracks like this. So without further ado, what kind of tools do you need? Based on what you see up here in my stuff, I have this bug menu, and this comes from a tool that you can get from the Wreckfest unofficial wiki. So I'll have a link to this wiki in the video description, so you can click on that and come here. And once you're on this thing, you're going to scroll down to Blender Tools, look for the Wreckfest toolbox. That's what page we're on here, and grab the toolbox MZ by Gmazy. So that's the one I have. You download it into wherever you do. It'll look something like this, and then you go into your Blender and you add it just like any other add-on to Blender. You go into Preferences, and I think you can even just drag it on here. I forget, or install from disk and choose that zip file, and it'll install it all up for you. Make sure that you check it in here so that it turns on, and then you'll have all the tools you need to get going. Just say that the wiki has tons of other important, interesting information about track modding and everything else, so make sure to read over the track modding stuff as you go, and yeah, lots of your questions can be answered just by searching around on here. So let's get started. I'm going to just make a new empty file here. So I'm going to go New, General, don't save. I don't know if I need to do all this or if the thing will do it for me, but let's assume we do. Just clear everything out that Blender puts in there, and then I'm going to go File, New, and make a Wreckfest mod. So the only option now and probably forever is Derby, but we can work with that. So I'm going to call my track Sidewinder Canyon, just as an example track. This is a track from Monster Truck Madness 2 that I'll be importing in here and trying to get going. The folder that I wanted in, Sidewinder Canyon, it's going to make me that in my mods folder inside of my Wreckfest directory. You need a environment file. This looks good. Title, Sidewinder Canyon looks good. Description, you can always change these things later. And then it's not going to be a derby, so you come down here, change it to racing, and instead of derby, I'm going to put rally. I think you could choose rally or circuit. Check the wiki. This particular track is a rally. So racing, this changed to rally. I'm not going to use a levels folder or event folder. So all my track files are going to go inside track, Sidewinder Canyon, and then the scene file is what the game sees for your map and the whole scene of your track. So, okay, you click OK. Boom, it appears. Here's all the stuff inside the folders. We can go away from that for now. And here's what you get out of that whole thing. Notice that you have some terrain here, this square map. What size is it? 600 by 600. We won't use that. We'll delete that. And you have your derby route stuff here. So all this square stuff is going to go bye-bye too. We don't need it since I'm going to import my own terrain. So I'm getting rid of the terrain that came with. I'm getting rid of the 2 AI routes that are here. I'll show you how to generate these using the bug menu. The stuff we still have are these start points. So these are where all your little cars are going to start off. These are little kind of camera things. So you'll see your car will sit there before you load in, and you'll get a view from wherever you happen to set your car there. The result camera, I assume, happens after you get done with the match and it's showing your results. There's also a start camera you can put in here. So you have a result camera, and then it's linked to a target. So the camera will look wherever the target is sitting. There's another camera, I guess, up on the result camera. I was successful with just having boxes name these and no camera. And then the static cube map, I'm not sure what that's for, and I'll have to ask. So let's import our terrain and try and get things working here. So I have my terrain saved as an OBJ file on my desktop. Sidewinder OBJ, there it is, nice. All my guys are floating up here. I'll move everything eventually to the beginning of the track. But we have our terrain in here. We'll also want to add a texture. So you head over to your shading tab, and we got to add a material to this guy. So we add a new material here, and we're going to make an image texture for this guy. So drag your node onto the base color here. You can search for image texture here. I already have it there, but if you type image texture, you'll be able to do this. Inside of your track folder that you created, notice it's already got you looking in there for your files. So we're looking for textures. It looks like they provided us with a basic ground tile to use, and there we go. So we have a basic gray going on here. Okay, So this is using the generic VSDF shader that comes with Blender. If you want to make it easier to know where the files all link up, go into your bug menu, go to Change Shader, and choose PBR Default. This is the little shader node guy that tells you where to link everything up for Wreckfest. It's something that comes with the Wreckfest toolbox, so I don't need any alpha here. The color goes on the C, and notice that the name of the color ends in sub C. So you want to have all of your tiles matching up in name. There was a normal map that I saw in there. This is another image texture. Open it up in textures, and it's the normal map. Notice these share the name ground tile. Sub C is the color, sub N is the normal. There's also roughness. Boom, boom. Let's grab that guy. Sub S. Apparently these specular maps need to be TGAs in order to work properly. Your other image files can be PNG as far as I know. So if it has an S in it, you should use TGA. Okay, cool. So let's zoom out and see what we're looking at here. I'm going to look from the top view. All right, so there you go. I guess we're going to want to remap this. So go into your UV editor, assuming you have some giant terrain like me, and see what you're working with here. I want to see what the main ground tile looks like this. And I'm just going to select everything here and zoom everything way out. I know there are other ways to accomplish this, but this will work for now. And there you go. So now we have some sort of grid on here. Maybe we want to try and fit this thing on here perfectly. All right, close enough for now. Cool. So hit tab. There you go. Let's see, does it show up as a grid? Hard to tell. We'll also want to move all this stuff up eventually too. So, yeah. All right, so let's take the top view. Not in the UV thing, but we want to go to our layout. And we've got our texture set up on our map, so it's not going to show up purple or crazy in the game. We've got all our cars and everything in here like we want. We need to do a little loop for the cars to go around so we can do a little test run. That is the main thing before we go setting up the whole path and everything. And we need to place everything sort of at the start point. So I have to remind myself where I put the start point here. Looks like it's over here. I'm going to put the cursor, actually here is where it is. That's where we're going to be starting off. And that's where we'll build our first little loop to test out the track. So what's one other important thing you need for your terrain in order to not fly through it? When you first load into the game, you need it to have collision. And so that happens in the custom properties. Rather than creating all this by hand, it's nicely done for you up in the bug menu. So you go to set custom properties, set collision equals true on your map, and there you go. When I imported my map, where is it? Did it go on the start points? Always have to find it. I'm going to drag it down here. I'm going to call it A terrain. The reason for the A is that when you open this up in BagEdit later on to edit your files and do things, that'll show up first. The terrain will have the most going on and we'll need to see it most often. So if we put it at the top, that's a good place for it. Okay, got our map in here. It is set to collision equals true. Here it is. You can see it here as well. We've got all our little pieces we need for the most part, and now we just need to sort of set everything around. So let's grab all our start points here, and I don't know which way they're facing. They should be facing north, so I'm going to grab them and place them over here somewhere near the start. We also have our two little cars here. I usually keep those in with the start points. And let's grab those, put them there maybe, and then what else do we need? Those guys are set. We'll also want to snap them to the terrain. It's a nice thing to do. So let's see. From above, I'm going to grab all these guys and I'm going to turn on snapping. I'm going to do face nearest and see how that works for me. All right, boom. Oh, better turn it on, I guess. Cool. That works for now. Now that they're down there. This guy's good. Let's see. I'm not sure if we have to renumber these two. Start point 01 through 20, or 00 through 23, or if this will work. So we'll see. I haven't created my folder structure for a map like this yet. So let's grab these two guys. I'm going to move them over here and grab all the rest of our guys. Move them a little bit more onto the track. So what about the route? What about the route? And then we'll deal with the checkpoints. We want just a little test route to do. So how do you go from Derby to what we actually need? So let's see here. Put my cursor there. We are going to press A in object mode. Yeah, Shift A. Sorry, Shift A. We want to add a curve. We want to add a Bezier curve. It shows up in my cursor, thankfully, and we're going to generate our AI roots from this Bezier curve. I actually have it starting in the river, so we'll move that in a sec. But this thing starts out really small. You'll want to hit size and stretch it out. That way you can see it better. And then you're going to hit tab on it to be able to move all the nodes around and stuff. I'm going to keep it on snap to nearest face. As you go around editing this thing, it's nice to have the rotate tool on, and you just go around and connect it up. So I'm going to look from the top. I kind of know that I want to go around this little part just to test it out at first. So I'm going to grab this front end. I don't know if there's a front or back to this thing, and I'm going to start extruding. I guess before I do all of this, it's nice to see the AI path as you go. So hit tab, have your Bezier curve selected, go to the bug menu and AI roots and generate AI root from curve. Boom. And then once you have this guy going again, all this stuff should be in your AI roots. Not that it matters too much, but just to keep it tidy, select your Bezier curve, hit tab, select the front node, and drag it down the way. So I'm just going to grab it, drag it up here, and notice that your AI path all drags along with you. So pretty nice. I'm going to put this actually, I think I'll put it here. So it's nice to have your paths connect up in a place where they'll lay over each other cleanly. All right, so boom. Here to make this node carry on, now that we've got this first bit started, I am going to hit E for extrude, and that gives me a new piece. And then if you have your rotate tool going on here, you can twist and turn as you go. E for extrude, there's my next piece. Turn it a bit here, E, and you just make your way around. Pretty easy. So let's see. Cha. And if you want your turns to be smoother or sharper, you can hit size on this thing and stretch it out. That'll smooth your turn out. If it's small, it'll be sharp. So just do whatever you need to fit it in there. Well, I think probably something like that's okay, and we'll just get rid of this one. Hit delete. You can kill that vertice off if you need to. All right. Yeah, so we'll zoom out. I guess we could even, well, let's go all the way and then we'll turn here. So I'll grab this guy, drag it all the way up here. This guy we probably don't need, but yeah, let's get rid of him. This guy we're going to extrude, come over here, extrude, come back up here, and notice that our stuff is facing all crazy directions. So that looks pretty good. This one looks like it got flipped over. So coming back here, what do we need to do? Sometimes it'll get twisted. You see, if it's overlapping with itself like that, that's not good. If you increase the size, that'll help see that better. How's this guy doing? Put that there for now. This guy. And then our final stuff. Notice this is all flipped over and messed up. You can't have it like that. So you've got to rotate it up, flatten it out. And then this thing, it'll kind of just connect up. So depending on how much shorter you make this, notice that depending on how much shorter you make the whole path, it adds little chunks and deletes them as you go. So I usually try and overlap a bit, and then boom. All right, so I'll zoom in again here. I'm actually going to subdivide this one so I can straighten it out a little better. This one we want to move over a bit. That looks good. I don't know, let's see. That looks okay. Sometimes you get lucky and don't have to do anything else besides this, but we'll check that, and I'll show you how to do it properly as well. All right, cool. Grab all my guys again here. Oh, I'm still in edit mode, so grab these guys, move them over a smidge. All right. So that's how you generate your AI root from your Bezier curve. In order to have the thing work in the game, there's a special type of overlap you need for these things. As I said before, sometimes when you've done this curve generation, it just works for you, and you don't have to do anything extra. And sometimes you do need to kind of break this stuff away from the curve. I don't know why. Oh. If it's doing this, that's because you have it on the face snapping, which you don't want. So just turn this off again. And when you're making your curve stuff later on for your track, you'll want to hide the AI roots as you go around and then show them again later. Otherwise, your normal, this vector that you are rotating as you go along will just keep getting messed up all the time. Very annoying. All right, so see if we can get them to overlap a bit. I don't know. That's probably fine for now. Let's save this thing up. I'm going to save a little blend in here. All right, so we have our terrain. We have our start points in here. We have some cameras set up. Our terrain is set to collide equals true. Our cars are clicked onto it. our result camera and checkpoint and stuff is over here. I don't know what the static cube map is doing, as I said. We'll see if we want that or not in a minute. Let's move the result camera. Let's move all the result camera stuff over here somewhere. Good, snapping back on maybe for this guy. And then anything else we want to do? Checkpoints. You do need 2 checkpoints. You need 2 checkpoints to get the thing running in the game. So let's grab this guy. Maybe let's not grab it yet, and let's make it wider. So I like my checkpoints to be wide. I don't know if they need to be, because what I've read, the checkpoint just snaps onto the AI route in the game automatically, and so maybe that one particular sector of your AI path serves as the checkpoint. But for me, it's just nicer to look at if we widen this thing up a bit. So the Z is tall. The Y, I'm going to try, I don't know, 20, 50, nice and wide. Of course, depending on how big your truck is. So let's go back up to the top, grab this thing, and let's put it in. So boom, we'll want to rotate it. I'm going to be driving through. So you want to put your first checkpoint always after your cars, otherwise they'll miss it and you'll go around the whole lap and only hit the first checkpoint after. So checkpoint 1, boom. And then I'm going to duplicate this guy. So I'm going to hit Shift D, put another checkpoint, I don't know, over here somewhere. So I'll grab this guy. Professional snapping going on. There we go. Great. All right, so I've got my 2 checkpoints. I've got my terrain. I've got my AI route. I've got my cars on there and everything. I think we have some kind of texture. Yes, it is a gridded terrain texture. And let's see if we can get this thing to compile and fire it up in the game. So we go File. I'm going to save my progress on my blend again. And then to export it out for the game, export as a Bugbear game object, BGO3. And where do we want it? We want it in our track. So track Sidewinder Canyon. I'm going to call it Sidewinder Canyon Rally. Export it up. And then we'll have to go and check our files. So we come here and look here. At 11:53, we made this BGO3. We saved our blend, and notice that this scene file, which is what's most important or for loading this thing up in the game, is not compiling. So we have to troubleshoot that. I imagine the reason is because we haven't done the proper setup on the path here. So how do you troubleshoot this thing? You go to Wreckfest stuff, you go to the tools, you take your BGO3, which is the thing that we just compiled with the plugin for Blender, drag that thing onto the asset builder. And what does it tell us? It tells us that the start is less than or equal to 0.f. If you don't know what that means, you open up the wiki and you go to build errors and you go look for it. So what's 0.f here? I'm going to find 0.f. Start Z. This is caused by the first AI sector being on the positive side of the y-axis. Make sure your track is on the negative side of the y-axis. Okay, so interesting. Who would know why that would need to be like that? But what can we do? We can just rotate all this stuff. Here's the y-axis right here in red. So assuming we want to keep the map, assuming we want to keep all this stuff centered, we can rotate it. Another thing I suppose we could do is just drag everything down. But let's select everything. Press A, select everything. I'm going to rotate everything 90 degrees. Ooh. Let's see. All right, so now that we've done all these rotations and transformations, we want to go at least to the terrain. The other stuff knows where it is. The terrain will be confused. It'll be all rotated around in the game's stuff. So if you rotate your terrain and move everything around like we just did, we are going to want to apply transformations to it. So I have just my terrain selected, object, apply all transformations. What that does is it resets all the coordinates on your terrain map so that the coordinates you see here in Blender match the coordinates that the game sees. The other thing is if you hit tab on here and select something, so say I have this little section selected, I want the local coordinates on that section to match the global coordinates. Otherwise the game will do funny wonky things. All right, so apply transformation on your terrain. Everything else should be fine because it's still dealing in the coordinates it had. Let me see, are these things rotated? I think it's okay because we want those to be rotated from how they were and everything before. So let's save again. Oops, I didn't want to save. Didn't want to save in criminal. And let's export. So we try again, make a new BGO3, and we go see if the scene file shows up. So boom, it's noon. There we go. Our BGO3s happened at noon. Our scene file happened at noon. It didn't care whether we did the proper thing for the track or not. So we should be able to open up the game and see what's going on. Let's do one double check really quick though. I'll show you a tool. In your Wreckfest folder, there is a program called BagEdit. And this is where you go in and you modify names and properties of all your files and stuff. So I have stuff here that I'm working on. There's also an example mod that comes with the game, so you can check out the files there. There are blend files and stuff available for this example somewhere online. I don't know if they're freely available, but you can ask on the Discord if you want to look. And what are we working on? We were working on Sidewinder Canyon, going into the track info here. So I went data, track. This is where my scene file is saved. It says I have 4 models, checkpoints I believe, 26 start points, 1 AI route, 2 checkpoints. That all looks good and true. In the property stuff, we can check our event files. These were created by the Blender plugin, so they should match everything we need. But an important one to check is this guy. It should point to the scene that we were just working on. The weather is something that came with the whole folder structure that Blender made for us. So all this other stuff looks like it should be good. Yep, game mode racing. So all this stuff was created when we made that new guy up there. And then the other thing to check is the TCAT file. I haven't had to edit this at all really, and I don't think there's anything to change in here for us. All right. So the main thing that we wanted to check was that all this stuff sort of matched. We have only 1 AI route, 2 checkpoints, yada yada, and then we're pointing to the right track here. Good. So everything got compiled. Let's see if the game boots up. All right. So back to Wreckfest here. Let's fire it up. All right, so once you're in the game, it's your first mod that you've made. Probably you have other mods, but you want to go over to mods. What does this tell me? There's now info, open workshop page. Okay, so I just uploaded these to the workshop yesterday, and now they have a workshop page. So that's cool. Sidewinder Canyon is the one we just messed with. The art that's on there came with the thing. I'll show you that another time. So we click on it, press back, it'll restart the game, and let's see if it works. All right, we're in. We go to custom event. And we choose Sidewinder Canyon. And we hope that it loads up. Looks pretty good. It might be taking a while because I have all these Class A vehicles, 24 of them. So after 50%, I think is when it loads in all the vehicles. And it takes a while to load all their assets in. You have car parts and all sorts of stuff that it's got to get into the memory. All right, next time I should just do a single car. That's the fastest. There we go. We're in. We're not falling through the map. Everything's already set up properly. Yay. Sidewinder Canyon, here we come. This was one of my favorite tracks from Monster Truck Madness too. It's a lot of fun. There's a checkpoint here normally, some rocks and everything. All the cars went the right way. That was great. I don't know why it wants me to reset, but I'm not gonna. This is all working. Normally there is a bridge here. And so on. I think there's water here. So we'll have to add all the textures and everything and get it going, but it worked. Yay. There you have it. Hopefully this tutorial helps you get something running in the game, and you'll come back for more when we start doing texturing and everything else. So yeah, catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.